Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special broadcast. The world's largest CPR class coming to you from beautiful Bilgola Surf Club on Sydney's northern beaches. Wonderful shots there, and we end up on an AED, also known as a defibrillator, on the surf club. And we'll get to the importance of that life-saving equipment very soon. Hi there, I'm Richard Wilkins, and welcome to the world's largest CPR class, the brainchild of the original Yellow Wiggle, the one and only Greg Page. Good to see you, Greg.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Richard, it's great to have you here. Today is Restart a Heart Day. And what a perfect day to start to learn about CPR and implementing the chain of survival. Call, push, shock, when someone around you has a sudden cardiac arrest.
Yep, the general theme here is that every minute counts, and we've got some great information, and we'll be telling some pretty powerful stories, all designed to help you feel empowered and confident to perform CPR and use an AED. And of course, you, Greg, are living proof of that.
Yes, my life was saved because bystanders knew how to call, push, shock. Sudden cardiac arrests affect 27,000 Australians each year. That's roughly 3 every hour. So while we're on air today for 1 hour, 3 people will suffer a sudden cardiac arrest, and 2 of those won't survive. It's vital we know how to implement the chain of survival. Call 000, push, perform CPR, and shock. Use an AED.
Yeah, head to Greg's charity, the Heart of the Nation website, for all the info. You can also tap the QR code on the screen below. Now, helping us out today, Mark and Mitch from The Block, former world surfing champion, the wonderful Lane Beachley, and cricket great Brett Lee, to name just a few. Let's take a look at what else we have on the show. 27,000 families right around the country are affected by sudden cardiac arrest each year. On the world's largest CPR class, you'll be instructed how to perform CPR alongside some very familiar faces. You'll meet some amazing survivors of sudden cardiac arrest, as well as some inspiring families of those victims who didn't make it. And we'll show you how easy it is to try to save a life as we conduct the world's largest CPR class. Yes, we're all going to get these certificates after watching the class, so just head to the website or scan the QR code and then get your certificate. Dan from Surf Lifesaving New South Wales is doing a great job out there with Lane Beachley. Hi, Lane.
Hey guys, yes, Dan is down here with the CPR class. We have Mitch and Mark from The Block, plenty of familiar faces. The general feeling is actually CPR is quite easy, yet only 40% of bystanders actually administer CPR. One of the reasons I'm here is to boost my confidence in it. Dan, should we get underway?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, back to you, Richard.
Thank you, Lane, and Dan from Surf Lifesaving New South Wales will be here with us a bit later in the show to take us through it all.
For everyone at home, you're not going to have these mannequins at home, so you should grab your cushions, pillows, soccer balls, basketballs, and have them ready. You can use anything for the class that provides a bit of resistance to being pushed on.
All right, Greg, what's the simple messaging for us all today?
This is the simple messaging. Call, push, shock. If you see anyone who has a sudden cardiac arrest, and the odds are you could witness one at home because 80% occur in homes around Australia, here is the chain of survival. If someone is not responding, call 000 and send for an AED. If the person is not breathing normally or at all, push, start CPR. Then when the AED arrives, shock. Use it to start the shock process.
All right, let's go back to the beginning of your journey with sudden cardiac arrest, Greg. When the original Yellow Wiggle went down at a charity event in January last year, it was horrible to watch, obviously. It made headlines right around the world and was the lead story on every news bulletin. Ali Langdon sat down with a very emotional Greg Page.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about how lucky I am to still be alive. When you get a second chance at life, you approach it with a bit more veracity and a bit more will to live. And live life to the full, but live it wisely. It's fleeting.
Greg Page, it is so nice that you are sitting here with us today.
It's great to be here.
And that's a question I really mean, and that's an answer you really mean.
Yeah, that's right. It is so good to be here after what I went through in January 2020.
I remember watching you on stage that night in your yellow skivvy, and you're in good nick.
I felt like I was. I'd been working up to it. I'd been exercising, going to the gym, walking 7.5 Ks every day. I was playing competition tennis, competition cricket, and I could do all of that without having any of the sort of typical warning signs that they talk about. But you can't predict who's going to suffer a sudden cardiac arrest. It could be anyone, anywhere, anytime.
Thank you, everybody! Woo! Thanks for coming to support all those wonderful people. Guys, I think we're going to end it there. Greg's not feeling real well. I don't think we can go on.
I remember that moment and that vision of when it all took place on stage.
Yeah, quite incredibly. I couldn't believe it either that the live stream of the Wiggles concert actually caught the moment I collapsed. And I think the thing that struck me the most was being in hospital and seeing my story covered on the news. And I guess that was the moment I knew that I had to use my profile and my name and my image to promote this cause and make people more aware of it.
It's a real passion project for you now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a life's work now, I guess. Yeah. I know what I survived, and I know I've come out the other side with a purpose and a mission to try and change outcomes for other people.
And I can tell you feel that very deeply.
Yeah, yep, I do. It's I can't find the words, but it's about saving lives for families like mine that are torn apart when suddenly somebody's life is taken, because for a lot of people that have a cardiac arrest, there's no warning, there's no diagnosis of anything. I wasn't diagnosed with heart disease till after I had my cardiac arrest. And that's the case for a lot of people, I think, that have a cardiac arrest, and for their families to find out that they had something that was going to take their loved one from them right there and then is frightening and harrowing.
Why was your life saved that night?
Because the chain of survival was strong for me.
I mean, you had a nurse in the crowd that
and
night.
a GP too. Incredible. I had the most incredible set of circumstances to give me the best chance of surviving. I was fortunate enough to have an AED available before the ambulance arrived.
I reckon you must have a guardian angel or something.
I had several around me that night. I refer to my responders as my angels who were watching over me that night. The awe that I hold them in, the fact that they did what they did, and it is just awesome. They are my angels, and we need more angels out there by everybody's side.
There was a moment Murray came back on stage and reassured everyone that you were okay. I mean, these are guys that you've toured the world with. You're incredibly close, like family. How were they seeing you down like that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's something we haven't spoken about since.
You haven't spoken about that?
No. You know, I can only imagine that it was pretty harrowing. I don't want to have to sort of bring that up. You know, it is what it is. You know, I went down. It was a very horrendous situation, but it had a positive ending.
Get ready to wiggle. We've been ready for so long. Get ready to wiggle.
Hey, Jeffrey. Yeah, how are you, mate?
How are you, Jeff? Good to see you.
Good to see you, mate.
How long since you two have seen each other?
Oh, gee.
A few months, probably, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's funny, it's like riding a bike. When we see each other, it's just like old times.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
I mean, is this man family to you?
Yes, of course. Yeah, the Wiggles have always been family.
It's
Yeah, it's a funny old family, but the times that we've had together, the things we've done together, the stories that we've shared, the things we've created together will always bind us. There's something special about what we've done together.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the night that Greg suffered a cardiac arrest, and he was telling me that you've never spoken about it as a group together. How would you say that night impacted you, Jeff?
I don't know, it just really made you think about life a bit more. I mean, it just reinforced that whole thing about how fragile life is. And it's such a gift, it really is.
There's not a day that goes by I don't think about what happened and how grateful I am that I survived, but at the same time I think about those people that don't survive and a little bit of that survivor guilt thing, I guess. Even people like Jeff or my parents talk about how it's affected them. There's a bit of that guilt attached to that, but if I can use my story in a positive way to share so there's more survivors, then that's a bit of a burden off my chest.
And you know what I've just realised? You owe these guys one more concert.
I probably owe them a few more than one, I reckon.
And we're looking forward to... it's going to be a glorious moment, the very next concert we do.
If the original Wiggles can step back on stage again, for me personally, that would be a celebration.
So Greg Page, Survivor and original Yellow Wiggle.
Yeah, that's true.
What an amazing story yours is, Greg. The work that you're doing with your charity Heart of the Nation, promoting CPR and AED awareness, has been noticed right around the country, in fact, all the way to the top. And right now it's my pleasure to let you know that the Prime Minister himself wanted to lend a hand today. The PM, Scott Morrison.
Hey Greg, great to see you looking and doing so well, mate. Thank you for the tremendous work you're doing with your charity Heart of the Nation, promoting CPR and AED or defibrillator awareness. It really is inspiring. My girls and I really enjoyed your online class last year. Our family, as you know, is very much aware of the importance of knowing CPR skills. My brother Alan is a senior paramedic. He was involved in your class last year. My girls, who are 12 and 14, have had plenty of training from Alan in the past. He tells us stories, you know, about the times when it is just so critical when responding to these situations must be done immediately. A cardiac arrest can happen to anyone, anywhere, as you know, at any time. With something like 25,000 cardiac arrests happening in Australia each and every year, we should all spend some time on getting to know these important skills. They're life skills. So my message to all Australians is simple. Have a go. Make sure you familiarise yourself with the basic CPR skills. Get involved and turn up for your fellow Australians when called to do so. Finally, can I just say thank you to you once more, Greg, for raising awareness on this incredibly important issue, and to everyone watching the CPR class today. Thank you very much for joining. So congrats, Greg. Hope to see you soon. Keep up the great work.
Gee, that is certainly a pretty good nod from the PM there, Greg. This charity means a lot to you, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, 90% of those people who have a sudden cardiac arrest don't survive. So through education, awareness and events like this, we can lower those statistics and increase survival. That's the mission at the Heart of the Nation.
All right. Time for a little break. Scan the QR code, then head online after the class to get your certificate. The CPR class is not far away with a whole lot more. We will see you very soon.
Hi, I'm Tracy Grimshaw. Every 20 minutes, another Australian suffers a sudden cardiac arrest. Less than half receive bystander CPR. Today's broadcast is all about CPR awareness and the chain of survival.
Thank you so much for taking part in the world's largest CPR class. Genuinely, one day you may just need it to save a life.
Leave you with a kiss so good.
Welcome back to the world's largest CPR class, showcasing the great work by the artist formerly known as the Yellow Wiggle, Greg Page.
Yes, and today we're learning about the chain of survival if someone has a sudden cardiac arrest. It's as simple as call, push, shock. Call 000, then use your hands to perform CPR, and then shock if there's an AED in your area. Dan is out there showing us how to use an AED right now. Anyone can use it. It is so simple. And the early use of an AED is found to increase survival rates from 10% to around 60%. The instructions all play out automatically when you open it up. You, as the responder, don't get shocked. It only shocks the patient if they need to be shocked. It's totally safe to use. We need to get AEDs available in more communities right across Australia.
Now, Greg, your charity Heart of the Nation has recently teamed up with a great local company, New Sunrise, on a brilliant AED initiative.
Yes, there are now 400 AEDs in New Sunrise independent convenience stores and service stations right around the country. And we recently heard of a case in Tasmania where the AED was used because someone knew it was in the store. So look out for these stickers. When you see them, you'll notice them. And New Sunrise have a great promotion called Pumptober. If you purchase a bottle of pump water from any Sunrise Enjoy local store, New Sunrise will donate 10 cents from each bottle to Heart of the Nation.
It is so great they're getting involved so much. And when an AED is used within the first 3 to 5 minutes of a cardiac arrest, it can more than double the survival rate. And you've also developed an app which details where the Heart of the Nation member AEDs are in your community.
Yes, just head to the Apple App Store or Google Play and download the app. And we've got more features being added in the next month or so that will enable a user to call for assistance from neighbours and people close by, and much, much more.
Now, Greg, it's time for another survival story with an AED, a TV reporter and a surf club combining to save a life. Ian Harrison was going for a jog in WA. He was in Perth to watch his son's basketball tournament. And as Tim Davies found out, it was due to the rapid nature of the chain of survival that he's still here to tell the tale.
There's a rhythm and rush these days.
Ian Harrison, great to see you in person. You're here.
I know, it's pretty amazing. I look back on it now and sort of think almost 6 years ago today, I was in Perth and I was looking out the window at this amazing scenery down in Scarborough Beach thinking I must go for a run the next morning.
Yeah.
Next evening, coming to in what I realised was a coronary care unit in a hospital, wondering how on earth I ended up there.
Sometimes there's things...
What I discovered as I slowly came to in hospital was that I'd had a cardiac arrest. And oxygen deprivation of the brain wiped out the memories for that day, so I can't even remember getting up that morning. I've got my little Apple Watch here and I had that on, so I can see that I got up at about 8 a.m. in Perth time and started running, and about 20 minutes into the run, the heart rate on my watch stops.
Back in 2015 on that particular day, I was just walking the dog. All of a sudden I saw a guy laid out on the floor up ahead. There were a couple of people stood around him. I just ran over just to check he was okay. Unfortunately, he wasn't okay. He was kind of shaking on the ground. And first of all, obviously just wanted to make sure someone had called 000. But then I suddenly realised, I'm not sure if this guy's breathing. I remember putting my hand up to his mouth to feel, and there was nothing there. And that's when it kicked in and I thought, this guy's not breathing. A number of years earlier, I'd actually been a learn to surf instructor, and each year we'd have to do our surf rescue course, which involved CPR. And so I guess some kind of weird instinct kicked in. I just rolled him onto his back and just started pumping his chest. At some point, a phone was kind of put near me with 000 on speakerphone, and the operator at 000 then started counting me in to time my compressions. I think I was kind of pumping pretty quickly at one point, and they just slowed me down to obviously the correct amount of time. The guys from the surf club started to dash up with the defib. They came up, they cut his top off, they put the pads on, and the machine scans his body to see if he needs to be shocked. It advises to stand away from the body, and it does the shock. It's something you only ever see in movies and demonstrations, but to actually see it happening in front of you and just hoping this guy's going to be okay was quite a moment. So after the machine shocks him, it scans again and it determined, yes, that they've got him back in. He's breathing, there's a heartbeat, and he's back with us again. When the ambulance came, there was definitely a thought that at least we've done something that could have helped. could have helped him make it.
When I got to the hospital and sort of came to later on, the cardiologist said, mate, you're probably 1 in 100, maybe even more, the chance of where you were on the beach. You know, normally they wouldn't have all that sort of stuff there. On me, you know. What I learned was you've got to get someone who can start doing CPR as fast as possible and step in, get an AED to you as quickly as possible to shock the heart back to normal rhythm if it needs it, and then, of course, get an ambulance to come and get you and take you so you can get advanced life-saving in a hospital environment. Because that actually is the key that everybody needs to keep in mind in terms of this change of survival, being able to intervene early enough to actually really make a difference. A lot of my ribs were cracked, and the cardiologist said, well, that's because the guy did CPR well. If he hadn't done the CPR like that and pushed properly and done all the right things, then potentially it wouldn't have worked as well as it had done.
Let's talk about that guy.
Yeah.
Matt Hale.
Yes, in the medical records it had the name of a bystander and a mobile phone number. So I obviously called up this phone number not knowing who it was or where, it just had this name, Matt.
Obviously that was quite an emotional first phone call. This is a guy that I didn't even know was alive or not. I'd last seen him being loaded into an ambulance. And he was fine. and it felt pretty good to be a part of that. Sorry.
You were scared.
Hey! Hey! How are you?
Yeah, good. Good to see you. How you holding up?
I can't express to Matt the significance of what he actually did. There's just no words to really describe that. My wife always said, just imagine if Matt hadn't gone past at that time. You know, if you'd been 5 minutes later, even 30 seconds later, it might have been too late. Who knows? You often stop and think, wow, if somebody hadn't stepped in, I wouldn't have seen my daughter get married. I wouldn't have seen my other daughter graduate from uni. I wouldn't have had, you know, all these special events, grandson being born, you know, all these amazing things. Every day, really, we sort of stop and think, well, you know, how lucky we are to be here together and how blessed we are.
If there'd been no one around that morning, things would have probably statistically turned out very differently. I would encourage everyone to get at least the very basic first aid training, because mine had been dormant for a few years. I'd never expected to put it into play, but yet somewhere in the dark recesses, it was able to pull out the basic technique, and it was obviously correct enough to be able to make a difference.
You never really stop thinking about, well, what if CPR hadn't happened? What if that AED hadn't been there?
We wouldn't be sitting here today.
We wouldn't be sitting here today. So I have the AED in my chest to monitor my heart
That's your daily
rate.
reminder.
So that's a constant reminder when you look in the mirror. And as the cardiologist said to me, and if you had turned up to me the day before and asked me to do a check on your heart, I would have said you were perfectly fine. So for me, it's how do we make sure people know about CPR, how to use an AED to shock someone back to life if necessary, where they are and what they could do to make a difference.
So much like Matt, we all have the power to save a life.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank God Matt Hale stepped in and did what he did, because, you know, likely I wouldn't be here now.
Great story, Timmy. Thank you very much. Now it is our absolute pleasure to introduce you to two mates, Don and Hutch, who are back riding their bikes together, fortunately. But if it wasn't for a quick-thinking 000 operator, things could have turned out very differently, Greg.
Yeah, that's right. Look, Don and Hutch were out riding their bikes around Narrabeen Lakes one morning 3 years ago. Hutch suffered a sudden cardiac arrest. Don turned around and noticed that he wasn't riding his bike anymore. He went back, some bystanders helped, they called 000, and with that valuable help, they were able to revive Hutch.
All right, let's have a listen to that 000 call right now.
Listen carefully, I'm going to tell you how to do resuscitation. So make sure he's flat on his back. Now stay calm. Now place the heel of your hand on the breastbone in the centre of the chest, right between the nipples. Now place your other hand on top of that hand. Now pump the chest hard and fast, at least twice per second and 5 centimetres deep. Okay, now let the chest come all the way up between the pumps. We're going to do this 600 times, okay, until help can take over. Now count out loud and I'll count with you, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Absolutely incredible. Don, that amazing call literally helped you save you made Hutch's life.
Absolutely, Dickie. The AAA operators are just fantastic, and they give you so much confidence in such a stressful situation like that. It made a huge difference to us jumping into action very quickly to help Hutch have a far better outcome.
Yes, indeed.
Incredible outcome. I mean, I've never heard a 000 call before, but the role that the 000 operators play in helping somebody in these situations is absolutely phenomenal. They really do make a massive difference to the outcomes of somebody who's had a cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They give you the confidence, because in those moments, your mind's spinning, everything slows down, panic takes over very quickly, especially as in most cases, it's a loved one or a very close friend.
Yeah. So clear and concise. Do you remember the name of the operator?
Look, I did find out post, I think it was Donna. I think it was the name, yeah.
Well, guess what?
Hello.
Look who's here.
Oh, look at me.
Oh, wow. Oh, Donna.
I'm well.
Are we allowed to do this?
I don't know.
Thank you so much.
You were the hero.
There are a number of heroes.
So much.
Yeah.
How does it feel, Donna, to see your wonderful work pay such brilliant dividends?
Oh, lovely. We do so many jobs and we never get to see the outcomes. We just go on to the next job, so we never know what's happened. We can click back into the job and I saw you were transported with police escort, I think, from memory.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends. We don't know what happens after that.
Yeah.
So it was really lovely when Ian did make contact with me.
Wow.
I can't remember how long afterwards.
We figured it was so important that these people do a thankless job.
Yeah.
They don't get to see the result with good outcomes. And so bit of private investigative work and tracked it down.
Some may say creepy, but it was lovely. Absolutely beautiful letter. It's my old workplace, actually. Tracked you down that way, and it was just lovely.
Thank you so much for giving me the confidence on the day.
You were amazing.
Thank you.
Come on, round of applause for Donna, everybody. Thank you, Donna. Congratulations and thank you from everybody on the wonderful work that you and your colleagues do.
Thank you. It's good teamwork. It's
fantastic.
Yeah, amazing.
Well, we're gonna let the three of you reminisce about that momentous day. We'll be back right after the break. The CPR class is about to begin. Don't forget to head online after the class to download your certificate. And we'll be catching up with Aussie cricket legend Brett Lee very shortly. See you in a sec. Well done.
I knew this was on.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Jeffries. As we're learning today, every hour 3 Australians experience a sudden cardiac arrest, and tragically 90% don't survive. This is your chance to make a difference, and thank you for participating in the world's largest CPR class. You never know, you might just save a life.
Remember, if you witness sudden cardiac arrest, implement the chain of survival. Call, push, shock. Call 000, send for an AED and defibrillator. If they're not breathing, push, commence CPR. And then shock. Use the AED to shock the patient.
I feel it taking hold. I feel it rush in my bones.
Welcome back to the world's largest CPR class, the brainchild of Heart of the Nation.
And a big thank you to Bilgola Surf Club for hosting us here today. It's beautiful.
How good is it, seriously? The CPR class is going to kick off shortly, but first, it's a great honour and pleasure for us to introduce one of the most successful cricketers to ever pick up a ball and hurl it down at a rapid rate of knots. In fact, he's responsible for the second fastest bowl in history. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the very fabulous Mr. Brett Lee.
Hey, Dickie, Pagey, hello.
Hey,
Great to have you, mate.
You two are mates from way back, eh?
Yeah, 20 years I think we've known each other. Yep.
You're a cricket tragic and
I'm a music tragic.
You're a Wiggles fan.
So, yeah, absolutely, still are.
Well, you still got the kids growing up listening to the Wiggles, I guess. Yeah, but we love music. We share that passion. We share the passion of cricket. And, yeah, it's great to have you here today being as part of what we're doing, spreading awareness. Now, last year, you were in Mumbai when Dean Jones collapsed. You stepped up and performed CPR even though you hadn't been trained in CPR, but one message today that we're trying to get out there is that any attempt at resuscitation is better than no attempt.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's about having a go, isn't it? So even though that I wasn't trained at that stage to do CPR, when you found out, or when we found out later on that, you know, whatever we did wouldn't have saved Dean Jones, unfortunately, it doesn't make it any easier, but knowing that we did something and I tried my hardest is all that you can, you know, do.
Well, what you did was superhuman, and obviously Dean's family is so grateful. What did you learn out of that experience, Brett?
To use an AED or to even do CPR, you don't have to be technically trained. As long as you can, you know, call, push, shock, as we always say, that's the 3 key steps in order to try and save someone's life. So it's pretty important.
Yeah.
It is indeed.
Good on you, Brett. Good to see you lads back together.
Yeah.
Bit of a jam after the show, mate.
I dare say
Elvis
so.
Presley.
Yeah, well, Binger, thanks so much for being
Pleasure.
here today, and thank you for becoming an ambassador for Heart of the Nation too. I'm so pleased.
Pleasure.
Well, as we now know, 90% of sudden cardiac arrest victims do not survive. And for the Williams family, losing their father highlights just how great an impact a sudden cardiac arrest can have on the family unit. Carl Stefanovic sits down with twins Matt and Alex to talk about their father's legacy.
We're turning 35 next year and becoming more heart aware and getting that checked on more frequently.
I think if you're leading a stressful life, you know, your risk of any chronic illness is going up.
What was your old man like?
Well, Dad was a public servant for all of his working life, and I probably would call him like a humanitarian. He cared really deeply about people. And
What was he like day to day?
Humble, yeah, quietly spoken. You know, he would always talk about others and not about himself.
That enduring image is a nice one, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
100%, yeah, just really, really caring. You know, a lot of our friends probably looked at Dad as a father as well, especially when we were younger and we were getting into trouble. And they didn't want to tell their parents.
Yeah.
No.
They knew Dad would maybe understand.
So, if it's not too difficult, what was that day like when you lost him? Do you recall?
It was kind of a normal day up until that point.
Yeah.
You know, we both went to work and got a phone call towards the end of my shift in the night time that something had happened and that we needed to get to the hospital really quickly.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't outside of our imagination that it could have been a heart attack, given Dad's family history and his brothers having had heart attacks previously. And so the initial news was that he'd had a fall, and that was kind of it.
It wasn't until Mum called just before we got there, telling us that we needed to hurry up because it was a lot more serious than we'd first thought. And that's when it kind of really sunk in that, oh, hang on, maybe this is it. This is it. Yeah.
We arrived to our mum and little sister and brother, who were distraught, having kind of acknowledged and still processing what was going on in that moment.
So what did she say to you in the hospital then? Because that would have been hard for her.
You need to come with me and say goodbye to your father.
Yeah. And the doctors were like keeping him alive, even though he had already passed away, so that we could say goodbye. To see your dad like unconscious on the bed.
That was a confronting experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of like the gravity of the situation really hit home.
I see you looking and seeing that image, right?
Yeah.
Your sister, she witnessed it.
Yeah, she was present.
So Madeline's playing softball, your dad's watching, doing laps, and then boom.
Yeah. I think Madeline had looked around and clocked Dad walking the oval. And I think there'd been some eye contact and a smile prior to what had happened. Then I think, you know, a few moments later, Dad had fallen down. She turned around and a man had gone over to see if my father was okay. One of the gentlemen that had initially arrived started to perform CPR on Dad. From what was described, it looked like a pretty horrific
it's
event.
Confronting.
Yeah.
She was 16 at the time. Yeah, still very, very young.
You've got to say, your goodbyes.
Yeah.
To your dad.
Yeah, we were ushered through to a private room. From the private room, we were brought forward to where Dad was, being kept alive, and it was like a goodbye. And then we were kind of taken out of the room and then left with our family in this room, kind of sitting with what, we've just lost our father. Yeah, it's a life-altering event, whether the person who has the heart attack survives or doesn't. It changes your course through life, both as an individual who might suffer the attack and the people that are left behind. Which it's definitely reinforced some of the values and ideologies we have within our life. Losing Dad.
So what are you two doing differently? And in relation to health, well-being, and in particular, heart health?
We work in a very physical vocation. We run and operate hospitality venues. It requires, not only is it just stressful, period, it's very demanding of our bodies physically, emotionally as well. Like when business is not going well, that's very hard emotionally. And so being able to front those challenges, the challenges of work, and in our personal relationships, requires a commitment to sleep and rest and letting our bodies recover so that we have the best chance every day to deal and work effectively and in a healthy manner.
What would you say to people out there then?
There's so much information available now as to what looks like a healthy diet. I think if you don't know, it's worth spending some time learning.
In Dad's instance, I think just talking and having people that you can communicate how you're feeling, having those checkpoints. I think definitely with Dad, not talking about it gave no one in our family the opportunity to push him towards doing something that could have potentially saved his life.
You both seem really happy and really healthy.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's a positive out of all this,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. You could say one thing to people is you have a lot of control and agency. You are making choices. I think people, no matter how disconnected they are to themselves, still have that intuition inside them. And I would just encourage people to listen.
Tap into that.
Yeah, tap into that.
Oh man, that is one super powerful story, and thank you, Matt and Alex, for sharing with us. And I mean, you guys really practice what you preach too, not only looking after your own well-being, but giving back to the community as well, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. Through our cafe, which we've been operating for the last 7 years, and especially in the last 5 years since our dad passed away, we've investigated the role of food and how that affects health and wellness, and have created a menu that kind of captures that.
I'm sure your dad would be very, very proud of you both.
Yeah, thank you.
I think what you're doing with the cafe is great, steering people towards that preventative side of things. And I guess one thing that I'd like to do for you guys is I'd like to give you an AED for the cafe, so that you can be at the heart of the nation in terms of fighting cardiac arrest if something happens on or near your premises. So there you go.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure, guys. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Hope you don't get to use it, but it's great to know it's there,
That's right? It's like insurance.
Thank you, lads. Your dad, Chris, as I said, would be very, very proud of you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back to Lane on the beach.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richard. I'm down here with Helen Jones, who tragically lost her brother to a sudden cardiac arrest when he was only 35 years of age. Helen, were there any signs leading up to that moment?
No, unfortunately not, Lane. There was no underlying conditions that my brother had. And in fact, 1 minute he was talking to a customer in the shop that he owned, the next minute he was on the floor, and neither, unfortunately, the shop assistant nor the customer knew how to do CPR, so the first time any action was done on him was by the paramedic, which was too late.
And how long did it take for the paramedics to arrive?
Around about 20 minutes, so yeah, it's, you just don't want that to happen. CPR first and then AED, and that would have been a fantastic outcome.
And now that's inspired you to now join the board of Heart of Nation. Can you tell us what you're doing in the local community down here?
Yes, I'm on the board of Heart of the Nation, and what we're doing is trying to raise awareness in local communities and getting AEDs in place so that people don't have to wait for that 20 minutes. And so one of the things we're doing, especially in the Bilgola area, is we're looking to get an AED in place so that the local community here can benefit from the Heart of the Nation and what we're trying to do.
And as we've seen down here today, CPR and AEDs actually save lives. So thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Thanks, Lane.
Back to you, Richard.
Thank you, Lane. Well, as we know, there are millions of people who've been affected by sudden cardiac arrest, and I'm so pleased that we are shining a light on this important issue. And Greg, it is easy to get the information, isn't it?
Absolutely. For more information, just head to heartofthenation.com.au. Take part in the CPR class coming up, then download the certificate from heartofthenation.com.au after the demonstration.
And Heart of the Nation is also proud to announce a fundraising event. It's a CPR push-a-thon. Form a team with your friends or family, sign up, raise money and start pushing. See how long your team can push for.
Yep. Each team member pushes for around 2 minutes before rotating to the next team member. Push for 10 minutes or push all day. We've got prizes for individuals and teams who can push for the longest or raise the most funds. Head to heartofthenation.com.au to find out more.
All right, coming up, my friend and colleague Beck Madden and a Mornington Peninsula mum who survived a sudden cardiac arrest during lockdown. You're watching the world's largest CPR class. We'll be back in a sec.
We're checking to see if they're breathing the way we're breathing right now, and we do that with a look, listen and feel. So what I want you to do is listen to the mouth of your casualty, looking down their chest, and put one hand on their diaphragm, just below their rib cage. And we're checking to see if this person is breathing normally. Now, if they are breathing normally, then we would go back into our recovery position. If they're breathing normally, we know generally they've got a good heartbeat. They don't need CPR. You should see the diaphragm moving up and down.
Or feeling a breath
in a
on your
regular
cheek.
or breath against your cheek. Exactly right. So what it is if you are not sure if this person's breathing normally, start CPR.
Okay.
If you don't know what to do, start CPR. If you can't spell CPR, start CPR. The only reason you'd really stop CPR here is if they said, please stop giving me CPR. So
wake up and
long story short, if you don't know what to do, start pushing on the chest. Now,
Hi, I'm Peter Overton. Help save more lives by having a rescue-ready AED. That, of course, is an automated external defibrillator in your community or workplace. Head to the website for all the details and watch out for the Heart of the Nation stickers now on display in 2,000 locations across Australia.
Hi everyone, Mark Taylor here. Each year, 25,000 Australians suffer a sudden cardiac arrest, and 70% of those occur in the home. It's important we remember the chain of survival. Call, push, shock. Thanks.
Welcome back to the world's largest CPR class, the brainchild of original Yellow Wiggle Greg Page, and congratulations, mate. Now, Greg and Brett, while researching this, I discovered a couple of interesting things about you both, which I didn't actually know. But first, we should talk about the inroads you're making providing AEDs in our communities. Big news out of Parkes recently, hey?
Yeah, we've received a lot of support from the Mayor of Parkes and all of the Shire Council out there. Heart of the Nation is working with Parkes Shire Council to install 8 24/7 publicly accessible AEDs to help launch our Heart of the Nation Communities program.
Very good.
Heart of the Nation is providing a fundraising platform for communities to install 24/7 accessible, highly visible AEDs to combat sudden cardiac arrest that happens anywhere nearby. But this is specifically designed to give access to those people who need an AED when a sudden cardiac arrest happens in the home. If you want to find out more or to register your community to be involved, go to heartofthenation.com.au.
Now, what I was alluding to before, and it's no surprise that it's Parkes, you are both massive Elvis fans, right?
We are.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, I knew you were. I knew you had one of the world's largest Elvis collections, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's on loan to Parkes. There's a lot of artefacts and memorabilia out there. So if you're ever in Parkes, you can visit the King's Castle. There's some of Elvis's clothing, jewellery, documents and memorabilia all that tell the story of the greatest entertainer that ever lived, Elvis Presley.
It's one way of God telling you you're going all right, isn't it, when you're buying Elvis memorabilia?
Or driving his car.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
Well, it's one for the money, two
Don't
for
tell
the
me.
show.
Looks like Elvis might have entered the building.
He's not bad.
Step on my blue suede shoes. Good hair.
Sounds a bit like...
Well, you can do anything but lay off my blue
Got a good
suede
voice.
shoes.
Thank you very much. Well, it looks like Elvis has left the building. Huh?
Thankfully.
Thank God.
All right, let's move to Victoria and Beck Madden, who's caught up with a mum who survived a sudden cardiac arrest during the lockdown, and how she counts her lucky stars that the kids were at home.
You're taking the punches of a heavyweight. One by one, they never hesitate. You've had worse beats.
Justine, tell me what your life was like before.
Well, just a single mum, going about my day-to-day business, working, raising 2 children, very active, trained 5 to 6 days a week. Yeah, health and fitness, I sort of breathed and lived it. Loved training people. I was a qualified PT, and yeah, that was my life.
Can you take me back to the day that the incident unfolded?
Yeah, well, I've got no memory of that day, so my accounts of the day are revolved around what the children have told me and what family have told me through the kids, sharing it with them. It was my son's 16th birthday. Kids were at home homeschooling. To get myself through lockdown, I was working out 2 times a day, going for 1 to 2 walks a day. I decided to go do another workout. My daughter wanted to make her brother something special for lunch, so she was in the kitchen, and then she just had this gut feeling that she needed to come and run it past me what she was going to cook. So she came down to the bedroom where she found me on the ground unresponsive. My son was in the shower, so she got his attention, and they came in together and then called 000. And the dispatcher, the 000 dispatcher, talked my son through CPR. So he started CPR immediately. My daughter went outside to wait for the ambulance. My son, Kyan, performed CPR for 7 minutes.
So the ambulance arrived, then what happened?
I had what they call agonal breathing, which is the gasping for air breathing, and I was starting to turn blue. The first 25 minutes I was defibrillated 8 times.
How courageous are your 2 children?
Whew. Oh, very much, very. Yeah, I get very emotional about it, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today. So for what they've gone through that day, yeah, they're my heroes. They're just heroes, that's all I can really say.
I will look after you.
After this incident, you were actually diagnosed with a heart condition. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the heart condition, or what caused a sudden cardiac arrest, is called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, which is also known as broken heart syndrome. So that is caused by physical and emotional stress.
Don't cover up that hurt that I can see.
I lost 5 very close family members within 5 years. I always threw myself straight back into work, kept myself busy so I didn't have to feel that pain. And I think also just being a single parent, going through COVID as well, just trying to manage homeschooling, not working. Stress can affect the body in different ways. Mine, unfortunately, turned out to be a sudden cardiac arrest.
You know you can say I'm not okay.
So how is your health now?
It's a long road to recovery. There's a lot of things I still can't do, which that's okay. I'm here, which is the main thing. You know, I look at the future and I have so many things that I want to do now, mainly in regards to educating and raising awareness on the importance of CPR and AEDs. One of the things that I'm doing moving forward is pushing to have CPR taught in secondary schools every year from year 7 up, because it's a life skill. It's a life skill that we actually need.
Has this changed your outlook on life?
yeah, I have a different perspective. I don't worry about the small stuff anymore as I used to. Living life like it's the last day, not taking things for granted and being grateful.
I know they're teenagers, but what are the hugs like now?
Oh, they're nice and tight. They're nice and tight. Yeah, they're lovely. They've always been cuddly kids, but now the cuddles mean so much more.
Oh, goodness, what a powerful story. Thank you, Beck Madden. All right, the world's largest CPR class is coming up just after the break. We will see you in just a minute.
Get nice and comfortable.
Yes.
And go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
30. Okay, this is where the conversation piece comes in about, do I do the breath? Now, if you were responding to someone out in public and you weren't sure, we need to make sure, again, first thing is danger. If you're not comfortable doing the 2 breaths, don't give the 2 breaths. If you're not going to give the breath, you don't need to count. All you do is keep pushing until your ambulance turns up. If we're going to give those 2 breaths, it's really important with your adults that we tilt their head the whole way back because that opens up the airway. We don't have to do that with the babies.
But with
the
small
small children,
same thing?
anywhere in the middle. And then all we're doing again is we're tilting the head back, we're grabbing a hold of the chin, slight rise of the chest. We don't have to put a huge breath into them.
How fast do you give the breath?
The second the chest stops moving, stop ventilating. It doesn't have to be fast, it doesn't have to be quick.
G'day, Scotty Cam here. Now, it's not every day you can say you learnt how to help save lives. But today, on World Restart a Heart Day, today might just be that day.
What an important life skill to learn. CPR and AED use, it is so easy.
For all the details, head to the website. If we can do it, anyone can.
Welcome back to the world's largest CPR class, an initiative of Heart of the Nation, a wonderful charity set up by the original Yellow Wiggle, Greg Page. All right, it is time to do the CPR class.
Yes, indeed. Get ready with your cushions, pillows, soccer balls, netballs, basketballs, whatever you have to start pushing on. For over 100 years, Surf Life Saving New South Wales has been the backbone of our coastal communities, keeping us safe.
And to conduct today's CPR class, would you please welcome Senior Academy Trainer with Surf Life Saving New South Wales, Mr. Daniel Gay. Round of applause for Dan.
Thanks for having me.
Over to you.
So the key with CPR is keep it simple. The first thing you need to do is keep yourself safe throughout the whole process. We want to make sure that we do not end up a casualty as well. Once the scene is safe, we need to see if our casualty is responding or not. And we do this by making noise next to their head, or we can squeeze on their shoulders, trying to see if they're awake or not. So squeezing into the shoulders. Now, if they are not responding, this is where we have to call 000, the whole call, push, shock. We have to call 000. With a check of an airway, we want to make sure the airway is nice and clear. And if you're worried about things like spinal injuries, they're not really a priority for us because we've got an unconscious casualty. Everything is about the airway. Are they breathing? So we're going to check the airway first. To check an airway, we're going to hold the head nice and still, and we're going to grab a hold of the chin. Now, some people like using what's called the pistol grip. So I'll get you to make a little pistol with your hands, bring your thumb in underneath your lower lip, finger on the jawbone, and all we're going to do, we're not tilting, we're just opening the mouth and having a look, checking inside the airway. If there was something in the airway, we can turn their head or roll the casualty onto their side. What we're going to check next is breathing. This is the ABC of CPR, but we're checking for normal breathing, which is what you're doing right now. What that means is if they're not breathing normally, start CPR. If you don't know what to do, start CPR. So we really want to get people into those compressions as quickly as possible. So the way to check for effective breathing is looking, listening, and feeling. So I'm going to get you to listen to the mouth of the mannequin. I'm going to get you to look down the chest of your mannequin, but just put one hand at the end of their rib cage. This is where their diaphragm will be. That will be moving up and down if they were breathing normally. So again, If you're not sure what to do here, this is where our compressions come in. We're gonna find the middle of the chest. Now, a really good way of doing that, it's hard on a soccer ball, but when it comes to a real person, putting one hand in their armpit and drawing a line across their chest, you'll pick up the correct part of the sternum, the middle of the chest. Now, whether you wanna get the base of your palm along that bone, whether you're holding your fingers or holding your hands, it's really whatever is comfortable for you. We're gonna have our arms nice and straight. Again, today we're on tables, but in a real emergency, get them on the floor. What we're gonna do is push down as far as we can. Now, the textbooks say somewhere around 1/3 the depth of the chest, but we wanna make sure whatever we push down, we release that same amount. That's called recoil. It allows the heart to fill back up. Too hard is better than not hard enough, okay? So we're gonna push down nice and hard, but we release that compression. We need to be doing this at a pace of no more than 2 per second. So this is where all those songs come into CPR to help people keep in time. Now, your guidelines say 30 compressions followed by 2 effective breaths. So we're gonna make sure we go through these 30 compressions, even if you break a few ribs. If you don't hear a crack, you are not on track for a lot of your adults. Any attempt is better than no attempt at all. 25, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. Now, when it comes to your 2 breaths, if you are wanting to do them, it's completely up to you. But you need to make sure that if they are an adult casualty, which means they're usually above the age of 8 in that space, we want to tilt the head the whole way back. We want to grab a hold of the chin again like we did and give a gentle breath into the chest to allow that to rise slightly. We don't have to overinflate. We don't have to put our mouth on if we don't want to. This is where you get to make the call. If you're comfortable just doing compressions, let's just focus on those compressions. So we go back in. Now, hopefully, when we've sent for the ambulance, hopefully someone is turning up with a defibrillator if there is one available. Now, when it comes to your defibrillator, it is a very easy machine to use. Again, lots of people are afraid of CPR because they think they're gonna do it wrong or they're gonna get in trouble, and that can't happen with CPR. Same with the defibrillator. We're gonna turn the machine on. For this one, I just open the lid. It's a really easy machine, this one.
Adult mode.
And it tells you what to do.
All clothing from patient's chest.
So we're gonna have to remove all the clothing from the patient's chest. This does include underwire bras because the metal will conduct the charge. So we need to make sure we remove bras as well.
Apply pads to bare skin, exactly as shown in the picture.
2 pads in the device. So the first pad is gonna sit on the right chest, the second pad down on the left-hand side, similar to where a seatbelt sits when you're driving a car. We want the heart in between those pads.
Exactly as shown in the picture.
So I peel off one pad,
Press pads firmly.
push it nice and firmly as per the picture. Second pad comes off.
Apply pads to bare skin. Do not touch patient.
Okay, now the machine has picked up a signal. We stay back while the machine is analysing. It will not shock a normal heartbeat.
Everyone clear. Press flashing button.
All right, we make sure everyone's clear. Dickie, do you want to push the shock button for us?
Shock delivery.
You will get a bit of movement.
Provide chest compression.
We go back into our CPR. If they haven't woken up, we go back into our CPR. So everyone find the middle of the chest. We're going to go through 2 minutes of CPR.
Push down hard.
And this is where rotation of operator is really, really helpful. If we were able to swap with each other to manage that fatigue. We're going to go for 2 minutes. And as you can hear, the machine gives you that beat to compress to.
Push down hard, at least 2 inches.
So again, the defibrillator will take you on a 2-minute round of CPR. At 2 minutes, it will reanalyze to check what the heart is doing.
Brilliant machine.
At any stage, if they start to respond, we roll them onto their side. Don't turn the machine off. Don't take the pads off. They are on now. And it's that simple.
That was amazing. Can we get a big round of applause for Dan? That was just fantastic. Dan Gay from Surf Life Saving New South Wales. And Greg, you've written a song for CPR, Keep the Beat Going, huh?
Yes, I have. It's a CPR tempo song that helps children understand a little bit more about CPR. It's 120 beats per minute, so it's at the upper end of the CPR tempo spectrum. But there's some other songs as well available on the Heart of the Nation website that teach everyone about each link in the chain of survival.
And now that we've done the CPR class, you can head to heartofthenation.com.au. answer some questions from the class today, and thanks to New Sunrise, you'll receive your certificate to display on your fridge or display it proudly on your wall.
All right, well, after that, it is time for a quick break. We'll be back in a sec.
If you find someone on the floor, look for danger before you do more. If not responding and you're on your own, call for a grown-up or dial on the phone. Check the airway, then see if they're breathing, then hands on their chest, and we start to compress. Keep the beat going, 'cause it keeps the blood flowing. It's a part of the chain of survival that we use when someone needs revival. Keep the beat, keeps the blood flowing, right up to the brain, and then we start it again. Keep the beat going, 'cause it keeps the blood flowing. It's a part of the chain of survival that we use when someone needs revival. Keep the beat that keeps the blood flowing, right up to the brain, and then we start it again. Keep the beat going, 'cause it keeps the blood flowing. It's a part of the chain of survival that we use when someone needs revival. Keep the beat that keeps the blood flowing, right up to the brain. It's just one part of the chain.
G'day everyone, Shane Crawford here. Every minute counts when someone has a sudden cardiac arrest. So, a massive congratulations to you and a pat on the back for joining the world's largest CPR class, armed with all the basics, and you might just save a life.
Please scan the QR code on your screen to get all the information you've seen here on today's broadcast, and you can also see the different ways you can donate to Greg's charity Heart of the Nation as well. Thank you so much for watching and participating in the world's largest CPR class.
Well, that brings us to the end of this incredible broadcast.
Well, I'm so grateful to everybody who's donated their time, talents and services for this great cause, and that is to get as many people confident enough to have a go at doing CPR or use an AED if required.
All right, let's repeat the messaging.
Yep, when somebody is not responding and not breathing normally or at all, the chain of survival consists of 3 simple steps: call, push, shock. Head to the Heart of the Nation website and get your certificate.
And remember the push-a-thon. Form a team, sign up, raise money, and start pushing.
Look, we want to say a big thank you to New Sunrise, a great Aussie company which has over 400 AEDs in their corner stores and servos. And don't forget this, their Pumptober promotion with a donation going to Greg's charity, Heart of the Nation. And don't forget to get the app. You just never know when you might need to use it.
Yeah, thank you to everybody here at Bilgola Surf Club. It's a beautiful part of the world. And of course, a huge thank you to Channel 9 and to you, Dickie and Binger. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks for having us involved. It's a wonderful cause to be associated with. Thanks to Brett Lee, thanks to Lane Beachley, Mitch and Mark from The Block, Carl, Ali, Beck and Tim from Today. Such amazing stories. And thanks to the PM. Nice to have him involved.
Absolutely, and just remember, any attempt at resuscitation is better than none. Take care, everyone.
See you, Australia.
See you.